Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Today is Monday, January 11th, 2021. And here we are in the first quarter of 2021. And it is a really good time to start planning. And so that's what we are going to do. So I'm going to pause for just a moment, make sure I'm live, see what's going on in the old Facebook group, and make sure that it's working. Here I am. Okay, so I hope you guys all had a great weekend. I know it's been a crazy week. Last week was a crazy week. It's going on even more. Things are crazy, but what we have to stay focused on and remember all the time is that we have a business to run, right? We have a business to run, and no matter what happens in the world, our business needs to still be able to stand strong. And that is why my mission is to kind of level the playing field for entrepreneurs so that you can use tried and true project management skills and practices so that you can have better outcomes for all of your projects. You can knock out overwhelm. You can, learn how to, strategize and take your projects one at a time and work through them one at a time without having that heavy burden of feeling all the weight of all of your projects on your shoulders at once. So I created this little PowerPoint for you. Well, it's not even a PowerPoint. You can do it in Canva. And I don't know if you know that now. You can do these really cool presentations in Canva. So that being said, I'm going to share my screen, and this is what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about your project plan and why you need one and what it can do for your projects. Now, if you missed last week's training, I talked about a strategic plan and why you would need one and what it can do for your whole entire business. And now we're getting down to the project. So if you think about the strategic plan, is that plan for your whole year so that you can kind of identify what the projects are that you need, because you're identifying your gaps and your strengths and your offer and all these different things, right? You're figuring out what those things are. You identify those projects, and by grouping things, all your stuff that you need to do into projects, it makes it easier for you to manage them one at a time. And you could take on like one, pretty decent sized project per quarter. There are six sprints usually, sometimes 7 sprints in one quarter. And so, that gives you that, 12 weeks of time that you can sort of knock these things out and not try to do them all at once, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today, is how that project plan can really help you manage your time and, manage that project so that you don't forget something in the long run. Okay? All right, so here we go. So why you need one, a project plan, why you need one, what it can do for your projects. Okay, so one of the things is the common mistakes we make when we don't have a plan. When we don't have a plan, we can easily forget major pieces of a project. So have you ever created a course or something like that, and you get it all done and you're all excited because you're done, and you realize that you forgot to create the sales page and you forgot to create all the marketing and all that. And so now you're going to be even more delayed in getting everything out there because you don't have those processes in place, or you don't have those things in place. So having that plan could make a difference, right? Another mistake we make is we can get sidetracked and go down rabbit holes. And that's what we call scope creep in the project management world, is you start, going through some of the things that you need, to do, and then you realize, oh, I kind of need to do that one too, and I should do that, and I should do that, and oh, I should do this too, and pretty soon you're so sidetracked that you don't even have time to get back to your project, and that's what we call scope creep. So we call it rabbit hole. You're going down a rabbit hole, that kind of thing, chasing squirrels, whatever you want to call it, but it really is a scope creep. And then mistake number 3 is let me see if I can move that guy out of there. We set too ambitious or impossible deadlines for ourselves. And the reason for that is that we haven't mapped out all the things that we need to do. And so we don't know how long it's going to take. And so we give ourselves too short of a time period, given all of the other things on our plates. We just give ourselves too short of a time, and we can't get everything done. Okay, so those are the big mistakes that we make. Some of the main mistakes. I mean, there's probably others too, but those are some of the main mistakes that we make. And so I'm going to go next into my next slide, which is what a project plan can do for us. So one of the first benefits is it walks you through an exercise to understand the problem you are trying to solve with that project. And so by doing that project plan, by going through that exercise, and I always like to think of the project plan as more of a workbook to help you, get the things out of your head and onto a piece of paper to identify what it is you're trying to solve. What problem are you trying to solve? What gap are you trying to fix? Or what feature are you trying to add? And what are you solving with that project? Now, the number 2 benefit is it gets you to write down the requirements and the deliverables needed to complete the project. So just because you identified the problem does not mean that you have identified those deliverables. And by deliverables, I mean things like, if you're creating a course, well, of course you need the course material, right? You need all that stuff done, but you also need a sales page. You need the marketing materials and all those things. Those are deliverables that you need to have on your list. And by writing those things down prior to getting started, you're much more likely to plan the right amount of time that you're going to need to complete all of those things. And you can even start by creating your sales page rather than creating the course, so that that's done when you're all done. In fact, some course creators recommend that, actually. And benefit number 3 is it helps you set the scope of your project so you can stay really, really focused. So if you feel yourself going down that rabbit hole, chasing squirrels, you can say, oh, wait a second, that is out of scope. That is out of scope for my project. I'm not going to work on it now. In fact, on the project plan that I have built for my clients, I actually put that in scope and out of scope, because sometimes you have things that are a little bit overlapping, and but you want to just make sure that in this project, you're going to keep that one thing out of scope. You might address it in a subsequent project, but it's out of scope for this project. And that keeps you really, really focused, which means you're going to use your time and leverage your time to its full potential, rather than, going down these rabbit holes and wasting a bunch of time. Okay, and then what to include in your project plan. Now, these are just some of the basics. I have a project plan. I have a course. I'll talk about it here shortly, but in the project plan, you want to definitely include your purpose and your goal and the scope of your work item. Well, we call them work items in the IT world, or sometimes we call them work requests or work items or something like that. But then it becomes a project, and you want to talk about, why are you doing this project? What problem will it solve? What purpose will it serve? What is the scope? What's included in this project? What is excluded from this project? And what are the requirements? And the requirements, in our world, we don't have to get as detailed as maybe you would in a technical type of shop, like like my 9 to 5, we have to get a little bit more detailed, but for us, we might just be able to talk in terms of deliverables. We're gonna, we have this requirement and this is the deliverable we're going to create for that. And requirements really help too, because requirements are really about your user, and they are going to have to, you kind of go through, okay, what is your user going to need? What are the requirements of my user, and what deliverable is going to address that requirement? Okay, so those are some basic things that you want to include in your project plan. I know this is Becky, because she says she has to go back and watch her darn bosses keep interrupting. That's so funny. Okay, so then once you have your deliverables listed out and you know your requirements, you know what you're doing, so you have that focus, you have it scoped out, so you know as far as you're going. Now you want to create that to-do list from your project plan. And the to-do list is just you breaking down those things. So let's say you want to write a sales page, right? Well, there's a few components, right? You got to figure out where you're going to write that sales page. Are you going to write it in your membership site? Are you going to write that sales page in your email? Are you going to write it directly in your website? And you need to write sales copy for that. So you need to extract all those yummy nuggets, from your course that you want to tell people about when you're marketing your when you're writing your sales copy. And then once you get all the things that you need to do, you want to prioritize that to-do list. And really what I like to do is look at the dependencies. Like, is there something that you need first before you can do those other things? Like, you can write the sales copy, but you got to have that sales platform, whichever platform you're going to use, you got to have that all set up too. So, one kind of is dependent on the other, even, you know what I'm saying? So yes, you can write your sales copy, but you can't put it into the system until you have the system in place and you've built that, or, created your account and done all those things. So that helps with prioritizing. Of course, we have the prioritization mantra of Scrum, which is must have, should have, could have, and won't have at this time. And what that does for you is it helps you identify things that you may pull out of scope if you run out of time, right? So you might have a special feature that is a nice to have, but it's not necessary, that maybe you can pull out in the end if you just get too, if you get too bogged down and you aren't going to make your deadline, then you can just make that for the next iteration, or, do it at a later date. All right, so that is you creating your to-do list from your project plan. All right, so the long-term benefits of creating project plans. The long-term benefits are really important here, guys, because what we're really trying to do is teach ourselves how to manage all of our projects. You're always going to have some sort of project going on, whether it's a marketing campaign, or you're building a course, or you're, creating part of your offer ladder, or whatever it is, or maybe even you're building in your systems, right? Getting your systems smoother so your operations run, more automated, that kind of thing. So we really want to look at the long-term benefits, because you are trying to train yourself to be a good project manager. Okay. So the first benefit is you can begin to have baseline metrics for projects to show you how you and your team is performing. And so if it's just you, that's fine. But, that's one of the things you want to look at is, how am I performing by myself? Could I perform better if I hired help, and would it pay off? And so you want to start looking at the metrics, look at how much time it's actually taking you to get a product out, when if you hired somebody, you might be able to get it out that much faster and make that much more money. It might be worth it for you to hire. So those are important kind of metrics to look at. And as good scrummers, we're going to always go through lessons learned in the end, so we can think about what we did good, what we didn't do so good, where we can improve, and keep iterating through to get better and better and better. Benefit number 2, you get practice in managing projects, improving with each product for better and better outcomes in the future. Remember, your business is a long haul, right? It's for the long term, and you want to get better at running projects. You don't want to just be a hot mess all the time, every time, for year after year after year after year. You want to get better at managing your projects so that you are not always in the weeds, overwhelmed by the to-do list, but you're taking that time to look at it from the higher level as a manager, to ensure that all the pieces are getting put into place as you want them. And it takes practice. It doesn't come overnight. I mean, I have years of experience in IT, managing projects and all that stuff. And I still have to, tell myself, okay, get out of the weeds, think about what you're doing, look at it from the higher level. And it really does, it helps. It makes a big difference when you think about things from a different perspective, from the perspective of the boss, rather than the perspective of, the person that's doing all the work. All right, benefit number 3, when you are ready to hire, you have a system in place for managing projects, communicating about your projects, and creating mutual understanding among the team. And this is really critically important, because when you start building your systems and you start, if you start outsourcing, particularly if you outsource to contractors, they may not have a system in place on how to run projects. And, they might be a hot mess too. And so if you already have a system in place that you're working through, you can at least kind of, create some boundaries and some guidelines so that you guys can all communicate effectively about the project, and you have that mutual understanding of what your project is going to include. All right, and then the last benefit that there's probably tons of benefits, but the other one, number 4, is you can take on larger projects with more confidence and keep your projects aligned with your goals of your strategic plan, right? Because now you're creating that plan. You're not going down the rabbit hole. You're not getting out of scope. You're staying laser focused. And the projects that you initiated after creating your strategic plan are the ones that, that are going to help you reach those goals, right? Because you wouldn't create a project that isn't aligned with those goals of the strategic plan. So that is that last benefit there that I see for the long haul, because we are in it for the long haul, remember, long haul, right? We aren't just doing this for a little bit of time and then, we're going to go do something else for a while. No, we're building a career for ourselves. We're building, our profession, and we're also rising to be the CEO of our company and not just be the worker bee, right? And you probably don't want to forever have to do all the work unless it's something you truly enjoy. I know I don't love getting into the detail work anymore. I'm ready to just hire it out now. Okay. All right. So that being said, I have a course that I have created. It is called From Boardroom to Implementation. And that is, I know that's a terrible doohickmajig domain URL. So I'm gonna just paste this in the comments really quick. Let me do that. Okay, so for a very short time, I am putting this out there for just $27 so that you can get started, because January is such an important time, guys. January is a really important time for you to really start planning, and then not stay stuck in planning, because that project plan, once you get there, is going to really help you get laser focused on what you need to do to get through that project. And then your strategic plan has sort of your list of projects that you're going to do for the year, so that you don't feel like, oh, I'm just not getting anything done. No, you're knocking out those projects that were part of your strategic plan for the year. So I hope you look into the course. I think it's a really good course. It'll really just help break everything down so that you can create these plans and really get your business focused for the year, so you make those goals. All righty, so I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week. If you didn't see the training from last week, you can catch that. It's in the unit section in Facebook, in the planning unit, actually, and you can watch that one on strategic planning. Okay, so have a great week, and I will see you in the comments. Bye.